All right, Jane the Virgin, Season 5, Episode 16, or Chapter 97. Um, I think I've realized that I am just not made for recap videos. It's just not going to be my forte. As much as I love Jane the Virgin, and as much as I love crap TV, not that Jane the Virgin is crap TV, but I'm just saying, as much as I love reality television shows, which make for great recap videos, I don't think my schedule is meant for it. I've been super busy. The series finale is going to air tomorrow night. So I'm like rushing to get 2 episode recaps in before that, just to see, maybe somebody has to hurry and catch up right before the episode airs sometime tonight or tomorrow, whenever I can get these done. So I'm just going to do it so I feel like it's complete. I can cross it off my list. So episode 16 starts with Jane's new editor or manager. I'm not sure what her position is. It's Lily. It's the chick she talks to that signed her on to help her sell her book, right? What's that called? She suggests that the crime in her book is anticlimactic, and her idea is, what if Rose swapped the babies out before returning Mateo to Jane? Which, of course, sends Jane spiraling. She's like, yeah, great idea, Lily, thanks. So Jane tells Raphael about the idea, and instead of comforting Jane, he freaks out too and says Rose is capable of anything, which is absolutely true. Then they talk each other off their ledges, and we're okay for right now. Rogelio tries to help River get along with her daughter Pond, but Pond is resisting. In better news, This Is Mars gets picked up by a major network. Petra decides she now wants to turn the Marbella into a franchise, so she meets with a woman named Clarissa, who is responsible for expanding other hotels. And it turns out Clarissa was actually advised by her guru, excuse my page turning, to meet with Petra, and that guru is none other than Magda. Magda tells Petra she wants half of the Marbella in exchange for sending Clarissa her way. Louisa stops by the Marbella to say goodbye to Raph permanently, she says. She tells Raph she loves him, and he shows her the door. Later, Jane looks at baby pictures of Mateo and noticed a possible birthmark that Mateo does not currently have. So she decides she wants a DNA test, and Raph decides to go along with that. Zoe is just a few days away from her very first day of nursing school and is also choreographing Raph and Jane's wedding dance. While they're practicing, Jane and Raph are having some trouble getting into it because they've got this DNA thing on their mind. So Alba and Zoe decide to show them how it's done. While that's going on, Raph makes a comment about Pablo Alonso and what he saw in Alba. I don't remember what the exact comment was, but Alba was a little bit offended and finds out that Jane has put the story about her losing her virginity in the book and is offended and demands it be taken out. So Alba storms out of Zoe's house. Jane is hurt because Alba made a comment about not having an issue with the storyline before because she didn't think it was going anywhere, that the book wasn't going to actually go anywhere. And damn Alba. River decides to turn the show down and go into therapy to kind of win her daughter over. Ro chats with Pond, and we find out that way back when River won an Emmy, Pond had a big Emmy viewing slumber party. And River literally thanked everyone in her acceptance speech but Pond. So she's been holding a grudge ever since. And Rogelio and River recreate Emmy night on set, including the slumber party with friends that Pond hasn't seen in 15 years. So River can make a very touching speech dedicated to Pond, and she apologizes for not being around more, and Pond accepts. Jane tries to edit her book, but Alba's story is the central theme, so it'll start falling apart if she takes it out. So she's having some trouble with that. Then, Alba comes in to talk to Jane and explains that she doesn't want Jane's book to fall apart, but she's worked so hard to be a pillar in the community and her church, so she doesn't want her private stories in this book. And Jane agrees to change the story after all. But not to worry, because later Alba decides she's okay with the story being in the book, thanks to the help of Jorge, because he explained that putting the walls up and hiding her life just isn't good for her, or anybody for that matter. And the DNA results come in, and in the case of 5-year-old Mateo, Jane and Raphael are the biological parents. Then Jane switches to panicking about publishing a book about a murderer who is still alive. Petra locks Magda in a supply closet so she can't get to Clarissa before she decides whether or not to help Petra, but Magda somehow tricks a guard who's left there to keep her in this closet into letting her out, so that was short-lived. But Alba finds Magda stuck in a stairwell because, remember, she is in a wheelchair, for real now, and confronts her. She ends up getting a recording of Magda on her phone threatening her and uses it against her to leave the Marbella and never come back. because it would be a violation, as Alba explains, a violation of Magda's parole, and she'd end up back in jail for a minimum of 5 years. It was a really awesome speech. I'm not going to do it any justice, but Alba tells Jane about the confrontation, and it inspires Jane to build up the heroine in the climax of her story instead of adding to the crime. Then Jane decides, which is like major enough, right? Then her baby was stolen. Then Jane decides she needs to face Rose in person. She wants to visit her in jail, but Raph is worried that seeing Rose in person will upset Jane even more. Jane thinks if she sees her behind bars, she'll get over it. Petra is able to get rid of Magda for $500 a month, thanks to Alba secretly standing behind her, intimidating her along the way. Zoe has a great first day of nursing school, and I really wish that they didn't rush this like part of Zoe's storyline, because in the like last few episodes, it just, you see that like Alba and Zoe aren't really around, and then they kind of like rush, like Zoe pops in and she's like, I'm in nursing school, and then like pops out. It kind of sucks, but whatever. Hopefully in the finale there's lots of Zoe. In mixed news, River decides to go ahead with the show, but she's moving it to New York because it's where Pon wants to be. River's contract says she can move the show wherever she wants, and she's choosing New York. This leaves Rogelio with a big decision and also a large task since he is in Miami. All right, let's see if I can get this whole mess out. So as Jane and Raph are driving to the prison to visit Rose, Rose stabs herself in her cell so that they have to transport her via ambulance to the hospital. In the meantime, Bobby grabs Louisa. A van zooms by Jane and Raphael and is timed perfectly to slam into the ambulance, tipping it over and allowing Rose to escape from the ambulance. And then all of the Rose doubles are released for the police to chase, so they don't know who's who and who they're catching. Dennis meets Jane. Dennis, Michael's old partner, meets Jane and Raph and explains that Louisa has been working with the police to help uncover Rose's plans. Louisa, Bobby, and Rose meet in some warehouse, like you do, and we find out an undercover officer was wearing a Louisa mask a la Rose, seen Rostro, and Rose is surrounded in the warehouse. She uses Bobby as a shield, poor Bobby, and escapes through a door that nobody else can manage to open. So Bobby gets shot and killed, and nobody can get through this door, so Rose escapes. So Louisa did good, but now Rose is on the loose. And this also explains how Louisa is in those wedding photos that somehow got leaked prior to the finale. So I'm off to work on recap for episode 17. And believe me, if you can watch it, watch the episode because it's amazing.